Remembering our past and working towards a more just future, investing in black is not a criminal act.
Oh!
Disrespecting the union man. What skill you're trying to get in the Marines? What did the recruiter tell you what job you're going to get? What skill were you trying to get? I'm talking to you.
You work for a union, bro. Don't you lecture a Marine.
Why the hell would you not support taking public safety threats off the street? It's got to be politics. There's no other reason a common sense person doesn't want the laws of this country enforced.
Tish James is back now. She is investigating her own local cops. She doesn't like that they might be working with ICE and the president's administration, to enforce the law. So she's actually sent letters to sheriff's offices saying, I want answers from you or else. And the left has gone bananas on this. They're also now trying to pass legislation in California with this big Democrat. He said that they're going to now try to ban ICE from wearing masks that protect them from their terroristic foreign gang banging invaders in our country. And we'll come back to that one. But here is the story with Tish, because Tish is probing local cops now. There she is, looking extra tishy, saying a letter from the office of Tish to Oswego County Sheriff called Don Hilton requested any agreements between the sheriff's office and any federal agency that is concerning the enforcement of federal immigration law, right? Tish saying, if you are working with Trump, I want to know about it. Asking for documentation about cops receiving training on enforcing federal immigration. The letter cited a section of state law on official misconduct, right? So she's like threatening them essentially. The Attorney General, writes Tish, is conducting an investigation pursuant to New York law and has reasonable cause to believe that the sheriff's office has information relevant to our investigation. They got a letter and it came from Lillian Marquez, Deputy Bureau Chief of the AG's Law Enforcement Misconduct Investigative Office. Lillian Marquez, got it, says the AG demands that the sheriff turn over any documents or information about ICE detainer requests and the detection, apprehension, or detention of people who've allegedly violated immigration law. So you violated New York law. Andy Biggs is going to come up in a minute and tell us, no, you're violating federal law. We have got the supremacy clause. The Attorney General's office is also requesting info about any stops initiated by any member of the sheriff's office. I want traffic stop reports. I want body camera footage, video footage, and camera recordings. All communications between any of the sheriff office staff, any sub-agencies, and they're saying under executive order, Cuomo and Hochul bans law enforcement from investigating, arresting, or deporting illegals, saying law enforcement officers have no authority to do any of this. Here's some person being deported. Have a nice trip. James's office sent a letter June 11th conducting a sweeping inquiry. Sources familiar said there's going to be even more coming in the next days. Hochul and Tish, says Elise Stefanik, are about illegals first. This is a continuation, said Stefanik, of her war against law enforcement, saying she stands behind President Trump and we're not going to put up with this crap. So Andy Biggs called in other sanctuary governors and he was scolding them saying, by the way, what you're doing is illegal.
I'll answer for you. You do violate the law. You are sanctuary cities, and every one of you sitting there, if you don't know that by now, you should know it walking out of here, that you are actually committing a federal crime every time someone does that, because you don't have the authority under federal law or under the Constitution to negate even a civil warrant for someone who's violated a federal offense when you get a detainer notice.
Yeah, we can't allow one state in our union to be conquered by foreign invaders and have our politicians absconded by foreign powers and foreign interests, and then allow that state, to be a part of the body politique like a cancerous infestation, and then spread the sanctuary cancer to the rest of our country. They're violating the law. We have the supremacy clause for that reason. And now, hopefully, with Trump's new declaration, the pressure is turned up on these sanctuary cities. Another sanctuary city is Chicago. And the mayor of Chicago is coming out, and he had a very interesting new statement today and an interesting rhyme. So as we have this fissure that is now percolating within the Democratic Party in many different ways, Israel and Gaza, and I guess the next candidate, they're going to have to find battles between the Bernie wing, the AOC people, the moderates, the progressives, all of them. We've also now got a new rhyme from Mayor Johnson, who is saying it's not a criminal act to support the blacks. Something like that. I think I might have botched that, but let's take it from the rhyme master mayor himself, the mayor.
Our way will bring to black residents in reclaiming ownership of our own communities. That is the spirit of Juneteenth, you all. It is about reflecting on our past. Other cultures are taught to never forget. We need to be reminded as blacks here in Chicago and America, remembering our past and working towards a more just future. Investing in black is not a criminal act.
Oh, pretty good. Investing in black is not a criminal act.
Sister Zakiya says she need a witness, so I'm gonna say it again. Investing in black is not a criminal act.
All right, investing in black is not a criminal act. And if you do something nice for white, that is definitely not right. Something like that, right? Pretty good. All right, so we'll have to work on that. But wow, incredible. Out of Chicago. Amazing. Bringing racial unity all across America from the mayor. Now, we also got this large Democrat, big Democrat over there, and Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener is a wild character over there. I think he wants to like have everybody infected with AIDS or something. He passes bills like just infect everybody. Strange stuff coming from him. Harvard Law graduate though, so that's exactly what you'd expect. And that's what a lot of them look like too, by the way. So weird dude, shows up in the leathers on the pride parades and posts all about it. Strange dude, but like perfect for California. Basically, in many ways, the anthropomorphization of a Californian right there. Anyways, so these two are out here talking about they're going to ban masks for ICE officials in their little dictatorship of California.
Yeah, if I could just elaborate, people covering their faces, impersonating police officers, it erodes trust in law enforcement and it undermines community safety. That's really what this bill is about. Many law enforcement officials, legitimate law enforcement officials, would welcome, putting in safeguards to ensure transparency and accountability. And I think the concern is a lot that's happening. There are a lot of people who are engaged in these enforcement actions, and we don't know, are they federal? Are they contractors? Are they local law enforcement? And so requiring that people not have to wear masks except for some very limited exceptions, and that there be identifying information ensures that we know who is involved here. It's also critical to uphold our state and local laws, including our sanctuary law, SB 54, which says that local law enforcement are not going to be involved in immigration enforcement. So this is, I think, furthering the state.
Yeah, it's obstruction by California, and these guys are all in on it. I mean, they're fighting on behalf of human traffickers who traffic children. Just to be clear about it, their myth that we've got a bunch of, farmers and amazing people who are scholars and PhD barbers and union workers and all that stuff, that is a myth that has to be smashed immediately. What they are doing is defending foreign invaders who are literally waving flags around in our country, who have trafficked, even their own heroes are documented to have been trafficking humans. Kilmar, they went down to visit him in El Salvador. They put him on a pedestal, carried him around on their shoulders for months, trafficking children in his car into the United States, maybe 1,000 times, making 100 grand a year doing it. So that's who they're fighting for. They're not representing the American people anymore, but for some reason, I guess most of their constituents are illegals or illegal adjacent people, so they keep getting reelected. Marsha Blackburn said, as State Senator Scott Wiener has said, he wants to make it illegal for ICE agents to wear face coverings to protect them and their families for doxing. Now, do not forget, targeted attacks on ICE agents are up 413%. This is another shameless attempt to put them in harm's way and ultimately to stop the raids, which is what they want. They don't want foreign invaders to be thrown out of our country. Now, Harmeet Dillon from the DOJ says, hey, Scott Wiener, he wrote, we're announcing new legislation. And she said, Scott, why don't you go check with a lawyer if this is even a thing? And you can get back to us, Wiener. Hint, it isn't. States can't regulate what federal law enforcement wears. So nice try. And Laura Powell says, yeah, Wiener even went to Harvard, but he just hates the Constitution like the rest of them. All right, so that is from Harmeet. Shout out to Harmeet. And the other thing that they want to continue to forget about, what these guys forget about, is they're fighting for people on the streets who are even shooting and killing people now. So Andy No posted about this. He says, Democrats, they don't want to talk about this in the media. They're all trying to hide details about the homicide that occurred over the weekend in Utah. One of their volunteer peacekeepers, this story's horrible, may have wrongly assumed that an armed radical leftist was a MAGA threat, fired rounds toward him, and killed an innocent bystander who was just walking down the street. I got some footage of it and some videos. Andy No, you can follow him over at No Comment, but it's spelled NGO, AndyNGOcomment.com, says, all right, here's the latest. This dude is not the shooter. Let's go through it. The story's been updated. Now, a Latino radical leftist and alleged Antifa supporter has been charged with murder now. This occurred in No Kings protest in Salt Lake City. The person's name is Arturo Gamboa, is a 24-year-old member of the leftist Utah punk-based band called Raid, was apprehended at the scene wearing all black and having a semi-automatic rifle. Right now, looks like he's on the ground there, all black, with a rifle. A No Kings liberal peacekeeper volunteer with bad aim, so not this dude, somebody else, saw him walk walk up with a rifle, and they tried to take out Gamboa with 3 shots, shooting at him. Instead, fatally shot and wounded a bystander, just killed someone. The peacekeeper, so-called, may have seriously misjudged the situation because it's unclear if Gamboa was actively even posing a threat. Like the guy's just walking down the street with a rifle. The other guy says, "Oh, rifle!" just starts popping off at him. So that happened in Utah, and you can see we've got some footage here, and they're going to show us the beginning part of the shooting, and then it's going to cut to black. But you can see here that the scene looks like this. So right here is the shooter, the so-called peacekeeper right here with the red backpack and yellow vest on. And this is the Gamboa fella who's just walking down the street, right? Just walking down there. You can see it looks like there's a rifle right there pointed down to the ground. He's not pointing it at anybody, just walking right there, comes upon the scene, and then peacekeeper just starts blasting. I just started blasting and starts shooting. And then the scene's going to cut to black, right? Because then you'll see that I think what happens is this one of these other bystanders is hit. I don't know who it was, whether it's this dude, or maybe it's this dude right here, but somebody else is just standing there and then just gets executed by this maniac who's just shooting. He's a so-called peacekeeper, just blasting folks, I guess, in the head. So designated peacekeeper. So, I mean, ridiculous. Like, this is happening in Utah. It's happening in California. We've got protests burning down, buildings being torched, federal buildings having their windows smashed in, and now people are dying because of illegal invaders. We also have this other person, and he's going to come in here and scold a Marine for whatever reason. Man berates U.S. Marine in L.A. Here's what he wrote.
Disrespecting the union man. What skill you're trying to get in the Marines? What did the recruiter tell you? What job you were going to get? What skill were you trying to get? I'm talking to you.
You work for a union, bro. Don't you lecture a Marine. What union do you work for? Ah, gosh. All right, so pathetic. That's what they look and sound like. Makes your skin crawl. Now, the truth of this, my friends, this is the truth. And I wanted to share this with you. This came over from Viral News NYC. We cover a lot of his stuff. He posts a lot of stuff from down on the ground in New York. And he said this, you know, as someone who has been on the front lines of the migrant crisis in New York City and broke pretty much every migrant story, gang story in Midtown, and he did. We've covered a lot of his stuff here. I have seen firsthand how many people have tried to hide the truth about the gangs that are involved and how badly they've mishandled this entire situation. To this day, I still can't get people to admit that child trafficking was happening out of some of the migrant shelters, okay? In America, they put them in a shelter. They're trafficking kids out of the shelter in New York, in LA. Some even tried to silence me for speaking out. This is the Democrat Party. These are who they are aligning themselves with, just to be clear. They say that they're not, but that's by the effect of what they're doing is this. So he was sharing this. Rapid Response 47 posted this in a conversation between Tom Homan and Dr. Phil, where Tom Homan is explaining what we're doing here.
Again, it's politics over common sense. They do not want to give Trump administration a win. They don't want to admit that we're fixing what they broke. I mean, even some honest people, you know, I watched a lot of networks, even some honest Democrats, when they get interviewed, what happened? How come you lost? And every one of them say immigration was a big part of it. So rather than learning a lesson that national security and border security is important, President Trump has turned it around and said the complete 180, most secure border in a lifetime. They can't give him a thumbs up for that. They're not going to give him a win for that. So they're picking politics over public safety. There's no other explanation. I mean, I'm not a stupid man. Hey, I wake up every day. Why the hell would you not support taking public safety threats off the street? It's got to be politics. There's no other reason a common sense person doesn't want the laws of this country enforced.
Because it's their avenue to power. It's how they shift the entire country to swing in their direction to give them a Democrat supermajority. And we have this already recorded as an example. We saw what happened with California. Ronald Reagan came from California. Then we had mass amnesty, and now it's a blue hellhole that is a one-party state because of the mass amnesty. And it hardly ever likely to become Republican ever again until we deport the millions of illegals who have invaded that land thinking it's theirs. And they want that model to be spread across every state in America. All of them can have one-party systems just like California, right? That was the model, and they're trying to spread that around the country. And then if you have that, then you really don't have an America. Then you really don't have a constitution. You have a bunch of people from all over the world, foreign judges, foreign representatives, foreign cops, and America's not really America anymore. It just becomes one big giant economic zone that really is not for anybody. The Constitution is a living, breathing document that changes with the times to be updated to ensure we've got diversity and equality and all this crap. Meanwhile, the Democrats are inviting criminality, and they're committing some of the most disgusting, reprehensible institutions, propping them up in the name of humanity, in the name of diversity, in the name of all these platitudes that mean nothing. We know that they are trafficking humans, drugs, they're killing Americans and abusing children, and the Democrats, like Tish, are investigating the cops who are helping to clean the streets up. You have Kilmar trafficking kids in his floorboards in his car, and FBI agents letting them go. It's a disgusting thing to happen. We've got enemies within our own institutions who are enabling this stuff. A lot of it is demonic and evil. Nobody wants to talk about it or admit it. Instead, they say they're good people waving around their flags on our streets. But the people who are in it, viral news and others, they know it's trafficking kids. It's trafficking drugs. It's much broader than this, and it's allowed to exist, has been until now. So we're going to keep our eye on this. Hopefully there's some pressure back against Tish and she stops investigating her own local cops. We'll, of course, keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do.